gentlemen, the Warbosses of Da ApORKalypse.
Hello and welcome to the Warbosses of Da ApORKalypse.
Get in.
Yeah, we'll just keep that, right? And just keep rolling.
Keep rolling. We got it. We're off now.
On today's episode, we are going to talk about Skumgrods, our favourite enemies and our best friends who are our favourite enemies. We'll talk about what Skumgrod means. We'll talk about various armies that we love to smash their faces in. You know, because they're all weak, weenie, and weedy. So, who are the four Warbosses of Da ApORKalypse? Oh, we already know this.
Well, you can't miss me because I'm Mr. Canary Yellow here. I'm
Mr. Needs no introduction. Big deal over there. Look at him.
Big deal.
So we should probably start with the bright yellow big deal in the bottom corner. Hello, Mr.
Who is I'm suddenly aware that I'm touching my nipples. Who looks like
Listen, mate, whatever you do in your spare time, alright?
Yeah, we'll get to you, muscle shirt, in a minute, all right?
Look at his guns. Look at them. Look. Oh, yeah.
I'll set you boys up with a new T-shirt and look at what happens here. You become sexual beasts.
Scar's T-shirt came with a free pair of hot pants.
It did. Look at it. Look how tight this shit is.
Of course it did. He only lives up the road. I wanted him to visit
hard.
in it.
We play hard.
Bam, 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 bam.
I just feel I look more like a 90s kids TV presenter or something. I look like I've been a contestant on Supermarket Sweep. And sorry for anyone outside the UK of a certain age who won't get that reference.
Funhouse, mate. That was a better
We
reference.
are fucking getting you a mullet. It's happening.
Don't worry, Steve. Jim will fix it.
Yeah, I was going to say, with all this been going on with Jim and that, I wouldn't dare be pat with them two little blondes either.
A mullet squig. There you go.
Steve-O, you can have the mullet, I'll have the twins.
Yeah. I wouldn't have them now if I were you, not with that other one in jail. Yeah, you'll get screwed with that deal.
But,
especially with that one behind bars now.
Anyone who phones into the show wins a free T-shirt and a free mug. There you go.
That's paid for by Steve-O.
I think I've done my introduction now anyway.
Yeah. Other than some bright yellow blur that I've got in the bottom corner. And to the recently trimmed Mr. Dread.
Oh,
Dread.
trimmed.
Whoa.
That's me. Whoa.
Whoa. Or should we call him Gok Wan?
Well, get you a nice little T-shirt.
Yeah.
Dressing you all up.
It's a
You
lovely
look
mug you got
fabulous,
there,
darling.
I know. Oh, don't you look great? Oh.
He has an excuse. He hasn't met you two physically. He's fucking met me, and still it's like, what the... Oh, Scarnier must be a medium. He must be. It's like,
It was those skinny jeans you were wearing. It just made
It's a large.
Mate, this is a large for like a fucking 12-year-old. You know what I mean? It's... Oh, God. All right. It's hello from Scarnier, by the way. How is? There you go.
This has gone well, hasn't it?
Good luck. Good luck getting this one, lads. Good luck.
What's that you're drinking out of?
This is an Ultramarines mug that I'm slowly bleaching white.
Cheers.
Look, everyone else is representing. Look.
Yeah, look, I got mine.
Oh, hold on. I need to delve into
mug.
my inner pocket where I hold my fucks.
So, what are we discussing? Skumgrods.
Hang on. We
Go on.
What are we undressing?
I was just thinking, like, you know, obviously we've been painting up our army lists in anticipation for our sort of like bashing each other games, and I'd like to announce that I have finished painting everything first. I've got 40 painted Gretchen. That's 2,000 points.
Hang on.
5 points, yeah, fucking right.
Yeah, no, get a calculator. I think that works out about right.
What were you smoking when you thought that was a good idea, GW?
Well, hold on, yeah, that probably means I finished as well, because they
ears.
went from, what, 90 points up to 150. Yeah, I'm finished, me army.
Yeah, I've got 120 painted grots, so...
Yeah. We're still aiming for 1.5k, weren't we? So
we're all done. Now, mate.
We're all done.
I've smashed that now.
Yeah.
Chill.
Same.
Sit back and chill. Well, 3 of us can anyway.
Oh, boys are more expensive as well. Boys
I'm on it. I'm actually on it at the moment.
Dred's the only one of us wishing like, couldn't they bump the points up a bit more?
The sad irony is the only thing I own that went down in points was the fucking Gargi.
Hold on. How many points the boys got, boy? 1, 2,
2.
2. Holy fuck! One. Like I might have a 2,000 point army at this point.
One. Do we have a 1? 8 points today. 8 points. Got up from 7 to 8.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Leaving little incentive to select grots because a boy is only 3 points more now.
240.
I mean, that is criminally bad. It's it's appalling. To viewers watching this months later, we were talking current events. But I'm sure, even if you're watching this years from now, this travesty is burned into your minds.
I don't know. They'll probably FAQ'd it within a couple of weeks or months anyway.
Well, they'll have to FAQ.
We'll
have to FAQ that limited edition rulebook that sold out. That was worth the money, wasn't it, boys?
125.
Didn't you get yours? Didn't you get yours? I got at least. I bought 10. They're up on eBay now.
Got to feel sorry for those scalpers, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been buying books like there's no tomorrow, but they're just not for 40k, funnily enough.
So should we get on with the thing? We probably
the actual show.
Skumgrods.
So I think I'll just get this out of the way. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? So
tell us what a Skumgrod is, Tim. Tell us what a Skumgrod is.
A Skumgrod is a compound of 2 Orcish words. So you've got scum and you've got grod. And it's basically a tautology because scum means enemy and grod means favorite enemy. So it's favorite enemy. And I think in some instances it's favorite enemy friend. So your best friend is your best enemy?
That makes sense from an orc perspective.
Yeah, orcs like to fight.
They love to fight, so they're going to appreciate someone that likes a good scrap.
If you regard an army that you dislike as a scum or as a grod, singular, one of those but not both, it sounds wrong. You need it to have 2 syllables, and you kind of need it to kind of do it. And by combining the 2, you're making it clear that you're talking about an enemy. You're making it clear you're talking about your favorite enemy because you've got them both there reinforcing each other, and it sounds better. Win-win. That's how language works.
Right, I feel like
that was your language 101.
My smoke is setting off the ambience here. I've got like a real. You're not going to be able to see me soon.
Actually, all I can see is yellow, to be honest.
True. Can't see, but all I can see is this big yellow blob.
I'll be honest with you. I just put the screen on black and white because I couldn't, it was hurting my eyes.
So yeah, eloquently put. The Skumgrod. But can I chip in who my Skumgrods are?
Straight to it. Can I
might as well. No one else was talking.
Can I please, can I have some more?
Now you've defined it. Let me tell you mine.
Me.
Go on, then.
Who do you think you are, Red?
Lay into it, mate. Lay into it. Go on.
Space Marines.
Space Marines. Cool. How about you, Scar?
Night all.
Needs. There you go.
Cool. Let's move on. Now, go on, Steve. Marines, go on.
Yeah, Space Marines. They're the army I've probably played against the most. So I have lots of experience at fighting against Space Marines of all various chapters. But and they can be bastards sometimes on the tabletop. Especially now, virtually every shot hits. They re-roll almost everything. They have storm shields, which give them insane invulnerable saves. They've got some nasty rules and some nasty abilities, but the experience helps me when facing them. And I generally just have very good games against Space Marines. Whether you're going back years and years, when I played Necrons back in 3rd edition, used to have some really good games against my buddy with Black Templars and another buddy with Space Wolves. They always came down to the wire. They were always so close. And they're the sort of games I've always enjoyed. They're really close ones that are really tense. You get into like turn 5, turn 6, you're like, it could go either way. And it's just like, on the result of the game depends on that dice roll of random game length. It's like who's going to win or lose. But Space Marines. And it's just really satisfying pounding Space Marines into the ground, the glory boys.
I found similar to yourself that they were the ones I would play the most. But in the past, you come up against them more. But I find now, I haven't played them in the last. The last time I actually played with Space Marines was I was playing as Space Marines because I didn't have any orcs ready. But yeah, last time I actually played against Space Marines was 6th or 7th. But they've changed now. I feel like with Primaris, they've now become too good for orcs, and that's coming from an orc perspective. They used to be put in a box together with Space Marines, and orcs would always be the favourite enemies. You'd always see orcs versus Space Marines, and now it's almost like Space Marines are too good to play with the orcs. Orcs are too below them almost. We're not a fair matchup anymore. Almost. That's how I feel, and that's not having played against Space Marines.
I hear a lot of that, and I see a lot of that, and I know it's the easy bad guys, Space Marine players, and the Space Marine community, for good reasons a lot of the time. But most of the time. It's the faction that's always pinpointed at being unfairly balanced and stuff. But I guess because of experience of playing them, I get beaten by them. I've been beaten by them several times, but I've also beaten them several times. And so they're certainly not my most feared faction to play against. There's Necrons I have a tough time for, and go and watch Nick's battle reports to get confirmation of that. Yeah. We're talking favourite Skumgrods, but if I'm going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum, a faction I've always had trouble with, 2 factions, Pansies and Tau, have always been a thorn in my side. And actually, I would say Pansies have gone through some, in terms of balance issues within the game, Pansies have been at that top end of the spectrum more times than one. And
Pansies are Eldar.
Yeah. Sorry, people. Yeah, Eldar. They're not. They're Pansies. But yes, they've been factions that I've had trouble with on the tabletop. But yeah, Space Marines for me will be one of my favourites to play against. And another one that's really not.
Space Marines become more of a finesse army as well. Not more so actually, because they've got less options now with the new Primaris. Marines. They haven't got as many alterations between chapters, but they do seem to be like easy for people to go. They're an easy army to play. You can pick up and play Space Marines.
Most people's starter army, aren't they? A lot of people start the game.
Which leads a lot of people to think, they're easy to play. But in actual fact, to get a good Space Marine player, they have to actually really know their stuff.
There's a lot. You get a Space Marine Codex, it's like the fucking thicker than the bloody rule book half the time.
My point for me was I've played against my friend's Blood Angels and his Black Templars, and lost any time I played against them. And then I played as them against his new Tau army, because he was all in the Tau, and he whipped me again. And I had the army that I'd always thought, oh, yeah, this is fucking invincible. Your army's just too good.
He knew that army. He knew that army. So he knew, your own army's weaknesses, don't you? And that's where I think with Space Marines, for me, because of just having played them so many times, by far the most regular opponent. I know them almost. They're probably the faction I know the most after Orcs, just because of how many times I've played against them. I've never played as Space Marines. But and another answer that's kind of a cop-out, because it's not really an answer as such, but any faction I've never played before, I love it when you're playing against somebody like, oh, I haven't played against them like either for a long, long time or ever. You know, there's a first time for everything. And playing against Gene Stealer Cult and playing against Mechanicus, it's like, oh, I don't know what to expect from these guys. I know very little about them, and then learn in a painful way. But it's fun. But yeah, for me, probably
less as Gene Stealer Cult.
Yeah, but for me, Space Marines, that'll be my Skumgrod, because and it's just, for me, that's 40k. It's like my first memory of 40k is Space Marines versus Orcs. That's the thing. That was, it was on. I mean, it's on the fucking Rogue Trader fucking book, isn't it? It's the cover. That's 40k to me. That's Orcs, Space Marines, clashing heads. They feel like the perfect counterpoints to each other. They're just
Orcs fight Space Marines so often that they could, you could imagine a Deskal Emporium that sells Space Marine armor. Head on down to Rin's World now.
Nearly all those boss poles have got Space Marine helmets on them, haven't they? And Orcs, they love fighting Space Marines, don't they? They love it. They see them as a worthy fight because they are proper hard fight. They're superhumans, they're close to their level. Unlike the normal, puny Umis, they're collecting like Space Marine helmets and stuff. They like to have one of every colour, don't they? And to have on their trophy racks and stuff. They're
catch them all.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, that's me. That's me anyway. So I don't know if someone else wants to chime in.
Dread?
I would have agreed. Actually, he went for the one I would have gone for. It's the easy one. Is Space Marines. I mean, I play least of all of us, I would say. I've enjoyed playing against Tau in the past. That was in the beginning of 7th, end of 6th, beginning of 7th. So they would have been pretty much the same as they are now. They were always powerful back then, I remember. So, yeah, what was fun about playing Tau, I suppose, is that they would sit back in the back corner of a table, do very little except shoot. And it always felt like if you actually do get the hurt down on them, then it's like, oh, well, yeah, you want to play a game. Now we're playing a game. Now I'm actually at your face. And there you go. Like, it almost seemed like you're playing a game with someone that wants to avoid playing a game right to the very last minute.
Your Tau players are very special.
And all I want to do is play a game. Oh, yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, my friend that I would play, like, he is, I say he's autistic. He's one of those people who can remember numbers. Like, I mean, I wouldn't dare play cards with him because I'm sure he can, count the cards. He's that sort, So he's really, really, really calculative. He's already probably poured over the game like a couple of hours every night, sitting down with like pen and paper working. Well, if he does this, you don't. And I've just gone, I'm going to attack you now.
And you've just gone,
yeah. I had a right laugh, and he's like, oh, you're not taking it seriously. And I kind of like that. I kind of like disrupting people's day in that sort of sense.
You raised a good point, actually, because it's funny that the different players' personalities with their factions, they do tend to line up. Like the Tau player, Kev, he was called, he was a good mate of mine, a real top guy, but he never took risks in game, ever took risk. He was cold, calculated, calm, reserved.
Numbers guy,
he was always on the objective, always like really cautious. He would never risk anything. He wouldn't go, right, I'm going to gamble this. If this works, this is going to pay off big. If it fails, I'm fucked. He'd never do that. He'd always go, no, I'm going to hold back and reserve. And he was very reserved like that. But and it just matched his army perfectly. But I always found with Tau, though, you either win big or you get pounded. You either get shot to shit or you decimate them. But there's no middle ground. I don't think I've ever had a close game with Tau. It's either I'm fucked or they're fucked.
See, I think if I was to play a different army, it would have to either be Space Marines, Tau, or Admech, purely because I don't like any of them. Neither of them really fulfill what I want from that kind of an army, though, because there's too much iconography and too much preset stuff. I want like a rebel army as such, but very organised. So, because I do like order and organisation, so as it goes, my orcs for me are a big escapism from that. You know, it's a big way to sort of just go, yeah, well, I'm serious about everything else. So in this, I'm just like, rah, you know, and just, you know, I don't have to be me for everything I do. You know, so I noticed that with a lot of other people when they're doing their hobby, it's like, gee, you really have just impersonated yourself with your army, like you're saying, the way someone goes about it, the way they're very organised and that. But for me, it's like completely the opposite. It was like, you know, I'll do orcs because they are unorganised, and they are, you know, I would want perfect paint on my perfect tanks if it was my army and I was rolling it out. But these lot, I'm going to go for as much chipped, rusty, crappy, you know, like, not to say that orcs should look awful, just they're the sorts of things that would irritate me in real life. So that's why I play them, because they're sort of like,
because you're a masochist.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, basically. But yeah, as for least favourite for myself, I would say chaos. I don't like fighting anything with too much magic. And as far as I'm concerned, also, orcs are the original bad boys in the galaxy. We are the bad boys. We are what mankind has got to face up against.
Don't play Thousand Suns, then.
Yeah, not a shadow of... I don't like that. It's like, oh, the worst mankind can face is a mirror.
Just bring a
big
dustbuster.
galactic mirror.
Yeah.
Nah, you know, aliens, mate, and we're the biggest, most brutal, horrible alien out there. So yeah, I don't like chaos for that reason. 2 reasons: they're pretenders and too much magic. Don't like all the magic. Not interested in that. The only reason I've got a weird boy is just in case someone else goes, oh, I'm going to use psychers. They're like, oh, fuck off then. Don't belong in the 41st millennium. Play fantasy.
There you go. Hot
That's
pick
my
for you
pick.
guys. Dread doesn't like psychic phase.
Nope.
A fan of it myself, to be honest with you. Too much of a magic phase. But getting back onto topic, my Skumgrod, it depends who like I play on the regular at the time. Like in previous periods of time when I got into like 5th and stuff, the army I played against the most was probably the Imperial Guard, to the point where I knew my friend's army list. I pretty much knew the Imperial Guard codex without owning one. That's how much I played my friend at the time. He'd win games, I'd win games. Do you know what I mean? We both played to our army's strengths, and we got to know the other's weaknesses.
What regiment was he playing? Like?
Oh, he had the Steel Legion from Armageddon. He had the metal miniatures.
Cool.
Nice.
So yeah, it was orcs fighting Steel Legion. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It was great crack. Yeah. Yeah, because it would be like he'd win some games, I'd win some games. You know what I mean?
And both of you, no matter who win, would get a fuckload of kills and loads of
there
taken
was,
off
like,
the table each turn.
That was one of the first things I had to get
proper
used to.
meat grinder game.
Yeah. You have to get used to being able to take fistfuls of miniatures off the table. That's how, like, when I played quite regularly, I could tell how well the game was going for someone I was playing against by how many orcs they killed. And then I could turn around and go, mate, you should have killed like 2 or 3 times the orcs you have already. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. And then 9 times out of 10, when I say that to them, it was like, I was right. You didn't. Because you get used to your army and be like, right, if you haven't done this much damage by the time we get into combat, then I'm just going to overwhelm you. You know? I played against Eldar a lot in 7th edition. That would have been... yeah, fuck Eldar. That was the
bloody right. Fuck
pain
Eldar.
in the bollocks. Like, me mate Craig's great crack. Fair play to you, Craig. I enjoyed our games against the Space Wolves, but playing against Eldar in 7th edition was like pulling fucking teeth. It was horrible. Absolutely fucking horrible. I have 13 power dice. How many do you have to defend yourself with? 2. Like, it was just...
Fuck pansies. Fuck pansies.
It's just like, I've never liked psychic powers when they've become a phase of their own, because it's like, if your army doesn't have psychic abilities, your opponent has a whole extra turn in the game. I've never liked when editions of 40k are very psychic heavy. And in fact, I would probably be more of the opinion that psychic abilities should only have stuck to like shooting attacks. And I'm not a fan of buffs and such. I don't think there should be a psychic phase in 40k. But then again, I think my problem is I fell into the wrong game. I have a sneaking suspicion that the more and more I look into it, that I probably would have liked historical wargaming more than 40k. Because I don't like Hero Hammer, and I don't like magic or psychic phases. And I like horde armies with large blocks of infantry, or traditional armies as well, where it's mostly infantry. And those things have nothing to do with 40k anymore. And more so with this edition. But yeah, the army I like fighting against the least was Tau. They just sort of hid in the corner behind shield rounds and just shot the shit out of me. And I was like, what's the fucking point of me showing up? You know what I mean? Yeah, there you go.
Cool. I'm going to be obtuse. I've got 2 answers here.
That's cheap.
1, yeah, I know, it is. Okay.
One, nobody else has stated it yet.
My Skumgrod,
mate, so don't worry about it.
My ideal Skumgrod is Orcs.
You went there.
Yeah. Fair play. I should have said that. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, then I've got good
we
news
are the
for
I
you.
didn't want to step on his toes. I knew he was going to say it.
We are the fun faction. We are the really, really fun faction. And I just never find any faction more interesting. And the thing is when you've got a very similar army to your opponent, it all, you know, like an awful lot of the inequalities and shit just goes away, and you can just concentrate on the game, and it's all about how you play to a greater extent, because you're on.
Well, hang on, for you, playing against Orcs is just playing out the Grot Revolution, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's also a part of it, is that I love kicking Orcs in, because I've got Grots, and Grots are better, and I'd like to prove it. And
we like teaching them little runts some respect and put them back in their place.
And the other answer that I've got, which is the answer that I'm probably going to talk about more, because I think everybody who watches this probably either is an Orc player or knows an Orc player, knows how fun it can be to play against an Orc army or to use an Orc army. My ideal opposing army is a really cool themed or converted army that has a great theme or has great converted models.
No matter the faction, just
doesn't matter what the faction is, so long as it's interesting, so long as it's something nice to look at. They've obviously put some thought into it. It doesn't even have to
That's
be
a good answer.
converted.
That's a good answer.
Like, I've got like a load of armies in my head that I'd love to do, but they really belong to factions that I don't really care about. Like, I'd love to do a Tau army where there are no battle suits. It's just infantry. It's just infantry and devilfish transports. That's it. Maybe a squad of drones or 2, but as an infantry unit that's just there to shoot stuff and move quick, like, and just like almost like a sort of like a drop troop army with like line infantry that comes in with the regular rifles. I can't even remember what they're called, but the pulse rifles, I think it is.
Yeah.
And they set up shop with a couple of Pathfinder units ahead, scouting ahead. They hold the pulse rifles are holding the line infantry. They're holding the line, and then chuck some breaches in.
Star Wars Episode 2
Devilfishes.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly like Episode 2.
They're pulse carbines.
Well, I was thinking particularly the breacher shotgun things or whatever they're called, but
and the little turrets they can deploy and stuff. Fire Warriors are pretty cool, actually. They don't get much love when the crisis suits became so.
I think the fun bit with the Tau, because my friend that plays Tau, he said, "Oh, you know, you could get away with some of your ideas. You could have a Farsight enclave." Now, I don't know much about Tau, but apparently this fella left the Tau army, or he had an army following him.
Farsight, yeah.
Yeah, his name was Farsight. That's the one. And he was a bit like Caesar in Northern Europe. He's sort of, gone off in the name of the Empire, doing his own thing, making a bit of a name for himself. And the Empire said, "Hey, hang on, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, nothing." So he's keeping himself to himself. He's wiped off the Imperial banners, taken away the Tau emblems on his stuff. So if you want to make like a rebel Tau army, then you just sort of call it a Farsight Enclave.
And
apparently.
he's got a little bit of combat emphasis.
Yeah, he goes against the grain quite a bit, doesn't he? And because he kind of ventured out further than the sort of Ethereals, the power they've got over the Tau. He's kind of got away from that, out from under their spell, as it were.
Not psychic power.
Yeah, basically.
The irony of the orc players, the only tell the orc players like is the one with the giant fuck off sword is not lost.
Yeah.
There is a demon sword that is prolonging his life. And he doesn't know it.
Yeah, I mean, you can have not polished, sort of rough and ready, sort of battle damage Tau from some.
Who remembers Kroot mercenaries?
I was about to say, what happened to the bleeding Kroot? I've never seen
They
them
were
on the table.
cool. They were
Never.
cool.
My buddy who does Tau, he deploys them every now and again, but they do get wiped off the table pretty quick. But
Those Tau mercenaries should be recruited.
Yeah, smooth. He always liked.
Oh, you got me with that one. That's a good one.
Kroot have got some. They got some cool stuff in the Kroots. I love the Krootox riders.
I thought they were beautiful models. The models.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Were they the Forge World ones, or were they the
No, just the standard ones. They look like
a couple of standard ones.
A shaven ape with a Kroot on its back with a big Kroot rifle.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, they're cool.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember.
Yeah, and they're quite cool. And I remember with the old Kroot mercenaries, you could do a lot of conversions with them because the Kroot obviously they're victims, they're foes, and gain some of their abilities. And that, so.
Do you remember Odyssey, the video game? Yeah. They were like a cross between that and Avatar, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit actually. Yeah, a little bit. And kind of bird-like.
How close that analogy rings true. But yeah. Although that was like that was kind of a weird thing. Like many of the new people won't quite realize this, but yes, we used to get army lists in White Dwarfs that would encourage you to convert. Those were the days.
And campaign codexes with special offshoots of armies. Lost in the Damned. Oh, such a cool faction.
Yeah. You're not a proper 40k hipster if you haven't
that is the closest. That's the most fun I've had converting stuff that isn't orcs. Is making all my Lost and the Damned minions. I just got box of zombies, box of orcs, box of goblins, raided all my Imperial Guard Catachan bits, random bits from everywhere, and just threw them in and just make whatever. Just made a load of mutants, and it was so much fucking fun. It was so fun. And
we should probably clarify before we go on, because there is some potential for confusion. The Lost and the Damned is a term that GW's used a couple of times. Steve-O is specifically referring to the 3rd edition army list that was in, what was it, Storm of Chaos, was it?
Eye of Terror.
Eye of Terror, that's it. Eye of Terror Codex.
And it was like a bunch of mutants and stuff, and it was a really cool army idea.
It was cool.
Had a little bit of that coming back with the Witch Hunters Codex, which had adversaries in which let you take like mutants and Chaos Psychers and basically trait a guard.
They would definitely appeal to orc. They would definitely appeal to orc players. They had cool names, like the squad leaders in there weren't called sergeants or whatever. They were called rabble rousers. And you could have for every 10 mutants, you could have one big mutant, meaning like ogre sized, and you could just have whatever. I kind of based all mine on the Evil Dead movies and just went total mutate, complete random shit, tentacles, skin dropping off, several more arms than they should have, all that good shit. It was great fun. But it kind of comes back to your fantastic answer.
Give that one a hand.
He's on form tonight. Your answer of like any army that is like I don't know, either beautifully painted or beautifully converted or has a really interesting theme. Yeah, a theme is so good. And that, well, you've got the best answer there of any of us, I think, because that is
I said I was going to go contrary.
Have to rob that one off you and take that for myself as well, because I fully agree.
Have any of you actually come up against a very beautifully painted or fitting army?
Oh yeah,
several, and it's brilliant. And
that's a segue, Dread.
Oh, just
we have all done it, haven't we? We have all done it. Do you want to list some, or because we obviously need to continue on, and we're already done, and we've probably got a bit more time to go, I would think.
Well,
did you want to move on to that of like cool armies we've come up against, or my other thought was, what's the best game you've had? Either of those?
Yeah, best game's a good one. I think the best game I've ever had is the one that got me into orcs. I'll crack on with that one. I've talked about it before, where I used to play Space Wolves in 3rd edition, and I came up against another guy I knew, Kieran. Kron was his I don't know, orc moniker or whatever we'd say. And he had exactly that. His army was painted. It was all converted. I remember all of his like orc bikers and stuff were made from like Space Marine bikes and bits and pieces. All of his units were uniquely converted. Each of his orcs were all painted differently, mishmash. I remember talking to him about it, and he literally told me that he'd sit down and paint like one orc a night, or when he'd go down to sit down and paint an orc, he'd literally pick 3 random colors from his paint box, and they would be the colors of that orc's sort of uniform as such. And the unifying color across the army was the skin, which I think is, a great way.
That is
with orcs
about as fluffy as it gets.
Yeah.
Because every orc is an individualist.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And yet it
brilliant.
Still was a unified army. Like that's what you can get away with the skin and orcs. And it was just a really well played, well teamed game where, my Space Wolves and Wolfguard armor and their lightning claws charge headlong into the hordes of orcs and are, cutting them down left, right, and center. But he just had too many, and they just got overwhelmed, and there was like a last stand, and the Space Wolves all died off. And I thought it was fucking brilliant. It was the only time I've ever played Warhammer. I got tabled, and I loved every moment of it. That's how I started with orcs. At that specific moment in time, I was like, orcs are for me. Orcs are fucking brilliant. I thought, like, the team, the fact that I had fun, I think that was the important thing for me, was not only were they fun to play, but they were fun to play against, even when you lost. And I loved it. So that's probably the best game I've ever played, because it literally changed my hobby for me. And I haven't looked back since.
You two can have a bit more time to think, because I know what mine are. I could have done a similar one to Scar. I could have mentioned playing my friend Francis, who pretty much did the same of converting me to orcs, because there was something in the back of my head that just went, this is fun. I want this every game. The only way I'm going to do that is if I play orcs. And that's where it started. But I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I tend not to be particularly converted. I'd like to borrow a phrase from Yahtzee Crosshaw of Zero Punctuation. He says, I'm half a competitive gamer. And by that he meant, I don't really care about winning, but I hate losing. But every now and then I come up against like a smug know-it-all power gamer, and there's definitely a part of me that desperately wants to win, but knows deep down it's probably not going to work out. And one of the things that really sort of drew me away, and part of the reason why I've not really been particularly infused about 40k for quite a long time, was I'd say probably from about 6th edition. And it's still ringing true even now. I mean, obviously, we've not had a chance to play 9th yet, but I imagine it'll be the same. It's kind of difficult to outplay an inferior opponent with a superior list, as a sort of tactically superior player with an inferior list. But I used to do it quite a lot in sort of 4th edition and 5th edition and 3rd edition. I did that quite a lot. and I used to take rubbish units and try to make them work. That was one of the few things about gaming that I really liked. But also it helped that an awful lot of the less popular units often tended to lend themselves quite well to themes and to silly conversion ideas and stuff like that. So they kind of worked together. If I ever made a powerful army, it was always by accident because I did the theme first every time. And this is one of those instances. I had my Grot Horde that I've been using pretty much since about sort of late 3rd edition, mostly Gretchen, and then like a lot of Grot themed units, Grot converted units. I've got Grots and Deathcopters. I had loads of big guns. There were no mech guns at the time. And then like I had some Mega Knobs that I'd made from Sentinels, and a Warboss Mega Rammer made from Sentinel with like a flippy head, and I'm working on a new one now that's made from a Death Dread, and like a bunch of other bits and pieces, all sorts of stuff like that. Boys units that were Squig Hoppers, stuff like that. And I was in the Middlesbrough GW, and that's where I went to uni there, and it was an unusual experience. I didn't really like the Middlesbrough store. It was very competitive store. It was very geared around tournaments. They had a very no holds barred competitive attitude that didn't really sync very well with me. But I met quite a number of people who were incredibly obnoxious during that time, and I just did not enjoy their games. But I did have one game that, whilst the person I played against was an awful person I hope I never meet again, was satisfying. And it was 5th edition. And this turd had turned up with a... I shouldn't really say that about another human being. This person had turned up with a...
He's not watching, don't worry.
With a Grey Knight list. It was a Drygor.
Anyway.
It was a Drygor wing list. Now...
Notorious in 5th Ed.
Yeah. And it's a Matt Ward Codex to boot, so I already hated him. So, and he sort of like, he's like, "Oh, what are you running?" And I was like, "Oh, I've got my converted army with me today. It's just a bit of 40k. It's an orc army." He's like, "Oh, orcs." He's like, I says, "So what's your call? Is it shooters or sluggers?" I went, "Gretchen," and he laughed in my face derisively. Mistake. And he said, "You want to take shooter boys?" I was like, "What? You want to take shooter boys?"
Despise it when people
shooter
tell
boys
you
are
what
better.
You should have.
Yeah, shooter boys are better.
Obnoxious.
Like Gretchen are rubbish. They're rubbish. It's like, you know. So
that's presuming you're playing to win, isn't it? It's assuming that
you're
playing for the same reasons they are, because I want to have the best ones.
He said, "How many points you got?" And I can't remember what I said. I think we were playing 1,000-point game or something like that. And I thought, right. He says, "All right, okay, we'll play 1,000 points. I'll show you that you need shooter boys." So he had his Drygor wing. I think he had a Drygor wing. So he was like, I think it was like 2 deep striking units of paladins. I think the Terminator ones, aren't they? And they had the Terminator guy who's, I think it's Drygor or something like that. Oh yeah, because I always mix him up with Castle and Crow, but Castle and Crow is the power armor dude. But yeah, so he had Drygor, 2 squads of paladins. Decided to deep strike those in, and he had a Dread Knight in his deployment zone, and I think he might have had a small unit of Space Marines, which he put tightly packed 5-man into a piece of terrain in front of some trees.
I can smell the lobbers already.
And I had lobbers. So you can guess what happened to those Space Marines. Right? So, he's like, first turn, he just has the Dread Knight and the Space Marines. And he's like, the first thing I do was I go, "Oh well, I know what the lobbers are doing." So the lobbers I think I got like 2 or 3 direct hits, but I inflicted quite a few wounds, and he rolled fairly badly for saves. I mean, they're only sort of Space Marines, so you only had I think you only had about two of them left, and he filled his morale. And they ran, and because he had them so far back, they just ran off the board. And then he had the Dread Knight, and I had a load of
to a Marine
zaps.
player is like unheard of.
I had cannons and zaps, so the cannons and zaps
morale. What
the cannons and zaps just shot it shot it quite horrendously, and I had some death copters which I didn't really use much, and then he teleported his wing in, and he's just like, look, he just plunked them right in front of the Gretchen. He's like, well, you're going to get a turn to shoot me, but so what? You know, it's going to be fine. And
statistically, Terminator armor.
He was right next to me, and I mean, I think they drifted a bit further forward than he wanted to be, but he was. Let's just put it this way: he was within 12 inches of the back rack. So, especially by the time I'd moved, so I moved all my grots around, and I had 120 grots. So there's a whole lot of diddlies about to occur. The first unit I rolled, I think, must have been the best rolling I've ever done. I rolled a lot of 4+s, and I started to take off anything below a 4, and was leaving the 4s. He said, "When are you taking the 4s off?" I was like, "I'm not." I was like, "The 5+, the skill, the BS2, right?" I was like, "No, they're BS3. They're grots." I was like, "What?" He went pale. It's fucking hilarious. So he made me double check. He made me show him in the codex where it was. And
I guess you don't know it all after all.
Yeah, exactly. And then I rolled the wounds, and it was mostly 5s and 6s. Beautiful. And then he rolled saves, which were mostly 1s. I wiped out a unit of paladins with my first 30 grots. Now that was jammy. Yeah, that was jammy.
Yeah.
But he'd rolled like 15 1s, and there was only 5 of them in the squad, so they were dead.
The best thing about jam, though,
I handed him about 20 saves.
Is it's oh so sweet.
Yeah. Now the other units weren't quite as lucky, but basically I got it down to there was like one guy and Drago left. And I just moved, and my death copters were just on the flank waiting to see what happened. And they just shot the unit, did a little bit of cheeky damage, and I managed to kill the other Terminator with a bit of luck. Because, twin-linked, was 3 of them, so 3 big shooters, twin-linked, got a decent amount of hits, strength 5, wounded on 4s, pretty easy. Filled a save, off it went. I think there was, I chucked a lot of Grot Blaster in, and some sluggers as well, because there's sluggers on all of the things, and there was just Drago left, and I had a lot of Gretchen, and he had his Dread Knight, but the Dread Knight was moving its way slowly along the board, really, and cannons and zaps made that go bye-bye, so he just had Drago left, and he was not a very happy chap at this point. He barely talked, actually. He was red-faced. I was enjoying it a little too much at this point, and I just charged. I just said, "I'll go easy on you. I'll just charge 2 units in." So I just charged 2 Grot units in. He says, "I'll still murder them in combat," and I made sure that all six of my runt herds got into base to base with him.
Oh.
Which at the time they had grabber sticks, and he went, "Well, I'm like initiative 6 or something." I can't remember what he says. Like 5 or 6. He's like, "I've got higher initiative. I will attack first." And I think he I don't know if he tried to challenge his way out or not. I think he concluded it wasn't worth doing the challenge or whatever. But I think with the rules, if I remember rightly, because he was the only one left, he was going to get hit by everything anyway, so he might have challenged against one of the runt herds. I can't remember whether or not that was the case yet. But nonetheless, I was still twatting him with everything. And I had a bunch of grabber sticks in close quarter range, and he was just like, so I've got I can't remember how many attacks he said. It must have been 4 or 5. And I just went, "No, you got 1." He's like, "What?" I says, "You got 1. I've got 6 grabber sticks in base to base contact with you, buddy. That's minus 6 attacks to a minimum of 1." And yeah. He rolled a 1 to hit, and I think he said, "Oh, it's mastercrafted," and I didn't even query whether it really was mastercrafted. I let him roll it, and Karma reared its ugly head, and it rolled a 1 again, and I proceeded to bash his skull in with just the slavers, and Yeah. I might have needed a grot or two to finish him off, but like, yeah. And then he packed up. He didn't say a word from that point. He packed up and he walked out the store without talking to me.
Do you always carry those loaded dice in your pocket for those occasions?
Yeah. Oh, I wish they were. I wish they were loaded. And I normally roll appallingly bad. The dice gods usually hate me. But every now and then, when I feel like I need to make a point for some reason, the dice do well.
Karma comes a calling.
That's handy.
I swear karma exists in this hobby. It must do.
Oh, totally. 100%. 100%. I do it all the time to my opponent. Like, if my grots are attacking or something really weedy against Terminators or something, I'll say, like, it would be really shit if you rolled a 1 now, wouldn't it? Just as he's shaking the dice in his hand. And I know, I can see it. If I've got inside his head, that's fucked his dice. And it fucking works. Like, if you get in their head, I swear to God, there's some kind of science behind it.
Break the confidence in somebody and you'll have them halfway lost. Yeah.
Unconfident dice rolls are horrendous.
Whereas if you just go, here, look, I'm not even looking, 3 6s, boom, and you roll, you get 2 of them, and people are like, whoa, maybe he's got something. And then as soon as you start believing it too, go, yeah, I do, I have got something, mate. You watch out.
Yeah,
then they start believing it too.
Psychic resonance we've all got.
Yeah, mate. Then you're on a winner. That's the only thing you've got as an alt player usually. Anyway, it's pure brag.
That was one of the few things I enjoyed during 7th edition. Actually, was I'll just tell the story quickly. But I haven't touched it in a while, but I've got a themed Imperial Guard army that's basically Genestealer Cult army, and I didn't realize that when they finally got around to redoing Genestealer Cult and give us a codex, that Guard would be able to be chucked in, and I was quite thrilled about it because I'd made a Genestealer Cult Guard army when Genestealer Cult wasn't around. And
before they were cool.
They were pretty much all I used during 7th Ed. It was the army I had pretty much all the time when I was in the store because they were, pretty good at the time. And my Grot army had been shelved for a while just because, like, I needed to take a break from them because I'd been using them exclusively for like 3 editions off the trot. But there was this stupid bit of war gear that everybody laughed at me for taking. It's just this OP little last pistol called the Wrath of Cadia. It was in one of the supplement books. I can't remember which one it was. I'm not sure whether or not it was Monk Cat or one of the other ones. But 7th edition was little in its joys, but it brought a couple. And one of them was this dumb gun called the Wrath of Cadia, which I used to take. And it was a last pistol that always wounded on a 4. And the best armor save you could have was a 4+. And I was playing against an Eldar player who had a Yandin with the Matt Warder Yandin book. And he had this freaking Wraith Knight, and it was on 1 wound, and I killed it with the Wrath of Cadia pistol. It was brilliant. It was brilliant because he wasn't. I was clutching at straws trying to get this freaking thing killed. Because if I didn't kill it, I'd lost. So it went down to the wire. It was a cracking game. Like you always get like. I found that was with 7th edition. It was either eventful or it was just watching your will to live sap away. And it was just those two.
I don't know how I quit playing 40k during 7th edition. I really don't.
I mean, I hated it at the time. In hindsight, I miss it because it has mechanics as a game. The codexes are awful and they should all be chucked into a dumpster and set on fire. But if you remove the faction difference and just play the core rules, it's a pretty good system. It's not too bad. Not everybody's cup of tea. There's a lot going on with 7th. But I would quite like to take the bits about 7th that I liked and crowbar it into 3rd.
The thing with 7th is people only just started to understand it just as they were just about to get rid of it. I mean, I was just getting my head around it. I was just like, okay, no, I think I get it now. And then they said, do you know what, we're going to simplify it. I was like, oh, well, fuck yous then. I just spent ages learning this shit.
They simplified it far too much, but,
Yeah.
Hey, if you're not going to put templates in your game, I'll play X-Wing. Cheers, GW. Get X-Wing and Gaslands. They've got templates. They understand the templates are fun.
Have you ever gotten to the point where you're playing? So your Skumgrod is like your favorite enemy, have you ever gotten to the point where you've played them enough to be tempted to buy them? Because there's quite a few armies I like fighting against.
Yeah, I've got a few Tau under the desk. I haven't done anything with them, but I've got a box of them because I'm like, one day I might,
I was wondering what the smell was when I was there. I'm like, is that fromage?
Smells fishy.
No, they have to be very much like I say, like they've crashed on a planet and they're no longer connected with the Empire. In fact, they've started to doubt that they ever cared. I like that. I like rebels. I like people that ain't interested in being like loyal to anything other than what's in front of them right now. And these Tau are coming up against orcs, so they've become a bit hardy, I think.
And he gives people shit for projecting their personalities into the game, huh? I've been tempted with Guard and Tyrannids, but that's because they're like horde armies as well. And we all know what's happening to them in 9th edition. Oh, God. Mom with the silence, lads. Are we, you know what I mean? Well, there are alternatives. You know what I mean? You don't have to suffer all the time.
You like Big IP, do you? Oh, that's nice.
Oh, very nice. But yeah, it'll be interesting with the Grots.
The two. us two.
Yeah, we're like, plug. Let's
Those
plug
two
with our
shit
games.
stirrers. It's just like,
exactly.
yeah.
Where's the wooden spoon? I'll give it a good store there.
Let's paint this episode blue. Paint this episode blue and hijack it. There are other games, guys. I'm just saying.
I know. Hilarious.
Just gonna sell everything out.
Come on, Steve. Come on, say something, man.
Want to bring us back onto topic, you mean?
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Yes?
Guys, just for the record, I disagree. But I can't remember what we were talking about now. Skumgrods. Skumgrods. No, we're talking about games, aren't we? Games that we've enjoyed playing. Games I don't know if I can specifically remember like my favourite game of all time. There's a couple that I highlight. Like I said, it's generally any game that's been close run. I always find them like they're just entertaining for both players. You're both really in it. But like one of you, I think it was Dim saying, it often depends on actually the player behind the army, the player.
Yeah, that's the biggest
and
thing.
I've had some games where I've been just I'd rather just stop playing now and pack up and go because I'm not enjoying this, and not because I'm getting pounded. Often actually it's been when I've been winning. If I'm winning quite convincingly and the other player is getting progressively more arsey and agitated and just you can see they're not enjoying the game because they're not winning. But now it's projecting it on you, and it's almost like they're guilting you. They're making you feel bad for winning, and it's like it just saps all your enjoyment out of the game when someone's taking it like that seriously to the point, and it can really spoil a game. And generally, it's so much more important. It sounds cliched, but it's so much more important to have fun than it is to win. And you can have some great. I've had games that have come right down to the wire and I've lost, and it's been lost just because of one dice roll, because I was winning, and then the game had to go on for one more fucking turn. And I was like, but that's part of the fun of it. It gives you something to talk about afterwards. Like, I would have had you, but if that hadn't gone all the way to turn 7 or whatever, I had you. Like, it was moments like that are really good. And when both players are like really tense, and they both really want to win, but at the same time there's banter back and forward, and they're just both really enjoying the game. That's the sort of games I like playing.
You've found a good opponent. I've had someone that will die or will be, losing happily, or that will be, be gracious in defeat and be fun about it and be like,
yeah.
I will get you next time, you bugger.
I've had moments like Dim said where you punish a player who has come in, thinking they're the big I am, and what sort of player comes in thinking they're like a real big deal, so you just got to sort them boys out, and it's that
never works for me, because I always end up pulling out the rule book and going, hang on, before I do kick your ass, I just need to make sure that I'm allowed to. I'm terrible with that.
The games I've not enjoyed so much as well, it's ultra competitive RC sulky players. I can't, they ruin the game, like to the point where I'm almost too scared to win. Like I'm kind of hoping, I'm actually hoping that their turn goes well for them, just so they cheer the fuck up, but then I've done games against people that aren't really in it and they don't really care. And me and Scar chatted about this on one of our old episodes of Two Bald Knobs. We were chatting about players that, like the do's and don'ts of the hobby. And when you've organised a game with someone and someone turns up and they haven't even written their fucking list, and you're sitting there like, mate, like times are ticking, and they're like, fuck off. If you haven't even had the decency to fucking write up before you come around, like, don't waste my time. You clearly don't give a fuck. And then when they're playing, they're just like, yeah, whatever, rolling dice, like, I don't care if I win or lose. I get that. That's good. But don't be a prick about it, because you can take it to the extreme, all right? I would like you to want to win. I understand that it doesn't have to be win at all costs, but at least try.
You want them to be invested.
Yeah,
you sound so much like you're talking to a younger brother or something.
No, I've had it people doing that, and they turn up and it's just like literally like, fuck off. I've been looking forward to this, you prick.
I think the games that I dislike the most is when you're playing against someone, and you just have banter together, but the game just goes really fucking badly for them. Like really badly, like you end up tabling the poor bastards, and you don't mean it. Yeah, and you don't mean it, and you feel like you're kicking a fucking puppy or something. You're like, I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry.
I've done that. I've rolled over. I'm so sorry.
I'm like, I've won, but I feel dirty about it. You know what I mean?
I usually apologise when I use my Bad Moon tank busters, like after I've just decimated like 2 of their tanks, and then they're like, oh fuck me, that was fucking horrible. And I'm like, well, I'm really sorry about this, but I'm about to
there's
show
another
off.
unit.
The bad news for you, son, is it ain't over yet. And it'll just feel cruel. Don't worry, you'll kill him next turn. It'll be
fine. I don't expect them to survive, but they've done their damage, so it doesn't matter.
That's one thing.
Job done.
That's one thing I do miss from, like, this is one of the reasons why 8th isn't really for me, and 9th much the same.
They are
one of the things I used to love about playing when you played a game, when you played a game, and like you would do something and you thought you got like a clever plan, and then you'd screw yourself over, and that would often take the form of that fucking scatter dice shoving your own blasts back towards you. Like one of the few times that I ever got the freaking vortex effect off on the shock attack gun, and it scattered onto my own grots.
The one time I had that happen, and I played a lot of 5th edition, it happened once, and I mean I played the fucking shit out of 5th edition. I got the vortex effect once, and it scattered off of one chimera and clipped 3 of them. I was like,
oh, nice.
It was fucking nice. And then my mate was like, oh, you know, they're removed from the table. Oh, yeah, go on, I'll let you pop your guardsman down. Go on, I won't be another prick. But that's I love that, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do you ever play a game and someone's gets, like, the vortex effect off the shock attack one, and they're like, oh, that unit's broken. It's like, yeah, mate, but you weren't there for the 120 odd times where it rolled fucking shite.
Yeah, total.
You know, that plays into it.
Yes, yeah, I've had that accusation thrown at several of my units. That's overpowered. I'm like, Really? Because the last 5 games I have, it done fuck all. So I'm really happy that it's finally done something. You know, it's just.
That's because we get our to hit out the way first. So our to hit is usually shit. So we usually miss. But if you do get that hit, and then you carry on and you actually get something, they're like, oh, that's wank. That's not fair. It's like, well, I don't always get the hits. You know, like the hits don't usually come in. So like, you know, this is getting down the path here. This don't usually.
Well, I think that's quite a cop out for a lot of people, though, isn't it? In games, is to sort of suffer something and say, oh, overpowered, because something hasn't worked out, and it's very easy to do that, and we're all guilty of it sometimes.
Yeah, although it
it's
doesn't really help that for a number of editions, I would say, including 8th edition. There are genuine, horrendously obvious power imbalances, which leads people to think that whenever they get their arse handed to them, the thing that killed them was overpowered, because that's what they're used to an extent. I think that helps perpetuate that, because there is often such a big distance between factions, and certain people are inclined to try and make that distinction even more even more distinct by exploiting it in ways that Games Workshop never intended.
Although I'd argue that those kind of imbalances and things have always been there.
Not to the extent that 6th, 7th, 8th had. Like I said, I could beat in 5th edition, in 4th edition, in 3rd edition. I could beat people with crap. From 7th edition onwards, I couldn't do it. Same with 8th.
It would also be, though, I mean, I agree with you, Dim. I'm not saying you're wrong at all, because it has just the way the hobby is, but it could also be that as it's grown and it's become more popular, the focus of some of these people coming into it has been exactly that. It's like, what wins, what's the best, and what loopholes can we find? I mean,
they were rewarded. They were rewarded.
They are on target.
They were rewarded by the sort of like the 5th edition power gaming culture, and those are the people that have driven the game in the direction that it's going. And you know, that's the consequence of Ward. That was both a joke and true.
Wait, you can actually stick the picture up, because you did it last time and got away with it, so just go for it, sure.
Yeah, that's it. That's the consequence of pay.
That's the law. The picture has to come up every time he mentions the name. That's it. It has to happen. That's kind of law in the editing.
I made it a separate video deliberately.
Until you get in trouble, just roll with it. That's what I do.
Oh no! And even after we get in trouble, keep rolling with it. Even if he personally finds out, I will happily say to his face that he's crap. Just point him in my direction. I'll do it.
Stick some copyright tunes in and we'll be away.
Hello, you're not saying.
Well, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound, lads. You know what I mean? At this stage.
It's gone so dark.
Always the one.
Always me.
Skumgrods.
Well, I'm the one with the authentically black shirt. I mean, I suppose there's Dread as well with his black shirt as well. But yeah,
there's Steve with his.
I've got a black one, which I was wearing.
Yeah, well, that's getting two, didn't we? Hey. Could have definitely gone bigger. I can see that on you now. I know you, Mr. Hip Hop. You can actually see your arms. That's something you don't do.
I think the other one's slightly larger. I don't know.
They're both large, I think.
Touching my nipples again.
So yeah, what were we talking about? Skumgrods?
Apparently.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in this video as well? Before it goes on another mad fucking tangent.
Well, I suppose we'll all get the opportunity to play Orcs, won't we, when we play each other, which would be.
Did you do your favourite game? Or did you talk about?
No, very much. No, I sort of just skipped it really, because very much like Steve-O. Like, I don't remember specific games more so than consequences of.
I mean, to be fair, most of mine blur together. Yeah, but I do remember.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of rolling dice and picking dice back up again, and moving stuff. But yeah, when something actually happens, that's when you're sort of like, oh yeah.
It's more it's more moments within games that stand out to me. It's like when my Grot Euler killed Chaos Obliterator. That's just so good. When my big mech failed spectacularly with his power claw, missed with every attack, and then I was like, oh, I've got the Grot Euler, might as well throw the 1 dice, 6, another dice, 6. He rolls his arm and say 1. I'm like, fucking get in.
Yeah, it's when you've got like characters and a couple of knobs or something like that, and they come up against Terminators and a couple of Space Marine characters as well, and you've just got that. Oh, my expensive models and their expensive models are about to touch. Oh, what's going to happen? And for a little while, you might think you're going to win. For a little while, you just get that little bit. Oh, fuck me! I've actually taken a few off. I always enjoy and savor those little moments that I know I'm going to get it handed to me probably because they're going to know some rule I didn't know. I go, oh yeah, but wait, hang on. I get to actually, oh, fucking here we go. Fine, but that was fun for a little while there. I quite enjoyed that little tussle. They're my favourite moments.
Something like that happened when I was playing Thousand Suns last time I played them. It was like the Demon Prince jumped in.
I've never played them.
The Demon Prince jumped in. I think this was before they got like super powered up. I think it was early in 8th edition. I don't know if I was using the index or the codex. I think I was using the index. He jumped this Demon Prince in. The Demon Prince obliterated the Warboss, from what I remember, and then consolidated into a big mech with just a custom force field and a chopper. And of course, I must have damaged them beforehand. Of course, the big mech, he's thinking to himself, that's grand, I've killed your Warboss. I'll tear the big mech apart, next turn. And I'm like, all right, I'll roll me combat for the big mech, and the big mech just sort of picks up a big spanner and just fucking bonk. It's like, what? Yeah, Demon Prince died. It's like, yeah, it's funny that it's funny when shit like that happens. It really is. It's not as good as the Grot Euler, but it's like he's gone through the Warboss and now into me. And it's
I love like those upset moments. They are fantastic, and they never go. They burn in your memory. I mean, like a recent good game I had against Tau. I outshot the Tau. That was just fucking lovely. I was like, Joe, I'm going to make a list. I'm going to try and outshoot his Tau army in this game. I'm going to come with something completely different. And I threw him off as well because the last time we'd played, I'd come with pure horde. Done a goth list, boys and knobs, literally sluggers and choppers, and he decimated them. They just got fucked up in Overwatch.
That's another reason why we are a favourite enemy.
And then I put my army out on the table, and he sort of went, I wasn't expecting that, and he just instantly looked concerned. And
I love when that happens.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it. It's brilliant, and it's so good once your collection's big enough as well.
Yeah.
And you can like play them one time, and then next time come with completely different army.
Yeah.
And they're like, hang on, what the fuck?
What's
so
this?
he came sort of expecting more of the same.
And they tailored their lists to whatever you played last, and then you come with something totally different. Some of my mates used to hate that.
Maxed out all his suits with anti-infantry weaponry and stuff, and so I think it was only because of that I was able to outshoot him, because we were fairly even pot-shotting at each other across the table, and we were causing similar damage. And he was concerned by it, like how much of this orc shooting was getting through. And then I teleported in 3 Death Dreads, and it was game over. And they just got.
Can you guys think of any other army like ours that actually supplies that, where you can actually have, 3 different lists come out of the same army? That,
I think most factions have you capable of doing that. Like you could come with a Tyrannid army with loads and loads of Gorns.
Nids was my first thought.
Or you could come with a Nidzilla army, or you could have. I mean, when I did my Nid army, it was.
But Tower is just shooty. Space Marines is very chapter specific now, so it's not like. You can't. It's not like the old days of Marines so much.
With Tau, they're always going to be shooty. If you try and make a combat Tau army, I mean, it'd be good fun for shits and giggles, but you're going to struggle. But you could still, like Dim said, you could theme a Fire Warrior themed army, or you can have a Crisis. You could. With my Nids, especially my Nid army, they had no guns at all. No guns. I set myself the task.
I don't like them when they're out. No, I just had them on Tyranids either.
Gene Stealers, Hormagaunts, and some Carnifexes, and that was basically my army. and it wasn't very good, but it looked cool, and it was just like just pure run up the thing and get into combat and no guns at all.
It's the second dead in me, but I really the current termagants aren't cute enough for me. I need cute termagants.
Yeah, those old school ones were cute. I'll give you that.
Nah, for me, Tyranids, no guns at all. Same as you, Steve-O, just claws and nasty.
They've always had guns.
But it's always the reason I didn't play them. Always the reason I was like,
I've never liked the guns. No, I like them. They've got some cool. I do like some of their guns and stuff.
And it's that sort of like needing to squeeze, just the same way as like with Warhammer races into 40k. It's like a needing to squeeze everything that fits into every army. It's like, what do they do for shooting? We give them spit guns, sure. Spit guns, yeah, of course, yeah. That's
Yeah, I don't know. Like if it was Space Marines, like now
it was the same with Necrons. Necrons were awesome until they were like, what do we do for psychic phase? We just make some load of characters. Yeah, and we'll fucking ruin this army too.
We've got more characters than the fucking orcs now. Which is ironic.
I like a theme to be sort of stuck to and be like sensible.
I think nearly every faction in the game can be heavily themed in one way or another. And there's obviously each faction comes with its own restrictions and stuff. But like Space Marines, for example, would be very easy because just the sheer scope of the amount of units you've got. You could have a pure scout army. You could do a Terminator army. You could do loads of like bikers and speeders. Like you could come with 7 different lists.
But a lot of their buffs, a lot of their good buffs, though, will come from being in a chapter.
They're going anywhere. Primaris is the future, so.
Well, I think
you know what could be worse than
we've got the best army. If you've got a good collection of orcs, is what I'm saying. If you've got a good collection of painted orcs, then I think you've got the best chance of bringing something that would surprise your opponent each time, because there are a good number of ways to play orcs. You're not limited to playing them as a shooty army, but they are an effective shooty army. You know, they are mostly a melee army, as most people know them, but they're an effective shooting army. They can be very maneuverable. Not as maneuverable as some armies, but they can be very maneuverable.
They can definitely do the mixing to a more effective extent than most of the factions can do.
Yeah, I
can't think of any faction. Like you could maybe see someone might find a way to say make guard combat orientated, but it would never match a combat orientated orc army or a shooting orientated orc army.
I'd love to play that game though. That would be a fun game. Catachans built for combat against orcs. That'd be a good game.
You probably would see an awful lot of Bulgarin Ogres, Ogrins.
Yeah. Totally.
Still be great crack.
It'd be a good laugh. It'd be great fun. Great fun.
Catachans, shotguns.
Hell yeah.
With Bulgarins.
Catachans. The army that could have been.
Yeah, I almost did them. They are cool. They are cool.
The army that could have been if GW only had the bravery to put it out, what with, it's basically Rambo.
Oh, totally. It's the cast of Predator made into an army. It's Dutch and his boys.
It'd be interesting to see what happens because, we could be seeing in the future that Guard go the kind of the direction that Primaris are going, where they get they all get sort of crowbarred into one super auto, kind of like Solar Macarius 2. Be interesting to see. They could even potentially bring Solar Macarius back. He is, after all, apparently wandering the universe, still on crusade. I think the legend applies.
Oh, he was dead.
I don't know. They changed the fluff like they changed their shirts.
Change the shirts, you say? About time. I'm dying to get out of this yellow thing.
No, we need to keep going. The tragedy is that he suits it, and he doesn't like the fact it suits him.
I thought we had him under contract for 5 more episodes yet anyway.
Yeah. Now you have to wear it every time, Steve-O.
Well, it's ironic, isn't it, that a lot of this episode I've been sitting here like a lemon, and I've been looking like one as well.
Well, if the viewers could just share their love and appreciation in the comments for Steve-O's yellow T-shirt, tell him how wonderful he looks in that yellow T-shirt. Maybe he'll wear it next time.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Bringing some sunshine to proceedings.
Can feel the bitterness from here.
I was going to cut nipple holes out next time.
If it distracts people from my ugly mug, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think there's some respect though you get from like playing your Skumgrods. Like I think most orc players like Yarrick, because even I bought like a metal Yarrick miniature because you like a good, you like a good opponent. Yeah, like in the lore, you know, Gazgul sizing up with Yarrick. You know what I mean? You like a good scrap. I think that sort of plays into it as well. The whole idea of having a Skumgrod your favored enemy. You know what I mean?
Very culturally orky. And well, it's not something that necessarily everybody knows, but like, I mean, obviously, like it's evident that Gazgul respects Yarrick. I'll get into that in a second. The feeling's not mutual, but but Gazgul calls Yarrick old. And a lot of people kind of regard that as, or Gazzy's kind of like insulting him. No, it's not. If you look up what the Orcish word for old is, it's tough. Or Gazgul has just paid Commissar Yarrick the highest compliment that could occur to an orc.
Well, I was just wondering myself there. It's like, you know, the orcs don't hate in the same way. Like, you know, if they've got a rival in battle that is given as good as they get, they're just as likely to get a tattoo of them, you know, because they respect them that much. I mean, they still want to kill them, but it's like, that's the one I want to kill there. That one,
they're
the one I've got painted
exhilarated.
on my
They're
arm.
excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just look at Tuska. Look at Tuska. They're on a demon planet where where a bunch of orcs constantly
even
die.
gained Khorne's respect.
They're never going to win, but they're like, hey, this is great. This is a great scrap.
Yeah. There's literally the orc version of heaven, isn't it?
Yeah.
Orcish Valhalla.
Yeah, that's it.
It's literally Orcish Valhalla.
It really is. It
Back to the beast
is.
and all. We'll
Literally
do it
is.
again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great.
Although I do sometimes worry that one day Tuska's going to get so fucking powerful, he's going to headbutt that demon world. And they'll get off it, and then goodness knows what'll stop them.
Then everybody's fucked.
I mean, probably won't. Like, I think to get a Warboss to be that tough would take time, which they won't have. But you never know.
Well, yeah, if they're constantly being killed, they're constantly being reset. But yeah, you know, it could be interesting to see what you could come with. There's all these little interesting tidbits that they could do with orcs.
They won't.
They leave lots of little strands, don't they? A story, little nuggets, little tidbits here and there, just to tease and tantalise.
Well, that's what I kind of like, though. I like that.
I do. I like that.
You've got what I read to you guys before about, like, with the freebooters, all the different sorts of freebooters there are. For me, the idea of, you know, humans and orcs both trading together on these far-flung planets where they're, you know, I've got a bit of this and I've got a bit of that I robbed off of this ship, and I've got a bit, you know, they're after different parts and components, and they will trade. And I like that idea of, you know, like, we've already done the Star Wars thing, but you know, like Tatooine or whatever, where you've got like these outward planet, and you've, you know, got all sorts of different aliens just sort of like there, and you know,
that is really weird.
That's how I see it. That's how I see orcs freebooters. Like, you know,
I think that's how a lot of the other factions see the orcs, and they probably look at our Facebook group and sort of say, "You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy."
That is,
we should be cautious.
That is weird though, because I started.
That gets me weirdly aroused. I really like that.
My friend doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
I mean, that is actually weird because I don't know what I did with it. I never really took it too far, but I started writing some because I've still planned to do a freebooter orc army at some point. I would like to do that, and I started writing some fluff for it, just some fan fluff, and I had the idea of what if an orc freebooter was like, I want like I want a Yumi interpreter who like can speak proper Imperial Gothic, proper Umi so I can sort out the minutiae of my deals, and I'll go to a Yumi world and do it. And I had this Imperial, like he's like an Imperial monk, and he's done something and nobody knows where it is, and he's on the run, and he finds this freaking dive, this drinking den that's in the middle of nowhere on this Imperial world, and like this Imperial world's fucked. It's going to hell in a handbasket, and he goes in, and it is just like Mos Eisley. It's just full of people. It's full of all sorts of shit that he believes is evil, including like there's like an Eldar ranger sitting at the bar, and there's even like a couple of Tau, and then there's like all sorts of stuff, and then
Drukari pole dancing.
He goes to the bar, and obviously he's dressed like a monk. He's just like a monk.
Through the beaded curtains is the Slanesh cult.
Yeah, but he goes up to the bar, and like he realizes that shit, I'm still wearing my Imperial robe. So he orders like he says, "Look, just give me something heretical to drink." So he just like something against the Imperial teachings quickly, and starts drinking it. And he like an orc comes up to him and gestures for him to come with, and he goes into the corner as like a dread pirate captain, just sitting there smoking a cigar, looking at him. And I can't remember the only bits I can remember is he's the Captain Deathclaw, the scourge of the silent sector. and like his cigar described it as like deadly nightshade, tobacco, and Wraithbone for the taste, or something like that.
No.
See, well, you've made me want to read that book.
I'll tell you what the tobacco brand of the orc is. It's Death Roller. Death
Maybe
Roller
for the paper.
tobacco.
No, that's how you make one.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully in a few months. In a few months, my favourite Skumgrod will be you guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, mate. That's what I was thinking. Never will you have seen such a beautiful force of orcs in front of you. It's got to be in it.
Next time we do this episode, I'll say my favourite Skumgrod: Blood Axes, Freebooters, and Grot Rebels.
They're the best games.
Who you saying orcs? What orcs?
They're the best games to play. Like myself and Dame have been to like a few orc mega battles, and they're just fucking great crack. Because you're playing against, what you're playing up against, and then majority of people who are into orcs have the same fucking mentality, so you're bound to get along.
It's gonna be fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be mental and fun.
Yeah. The only one mate, and unfortunately Scar didn't go to that one, but the only one mate I ever didn't really enjoy was the one time that
the Scar wasn't there.
Well,
that's why I didn't enjoy it.
No. We went one year, and like one of our numbers was a member of like a local gaming group, and the local gaming group said, "Well, why don't we play you?" And we was like, "Yeah, sure. We'll get some Skumgrods. We'll beat up on the non-orcs." And you're facing up against people that you've never talked to on the forum, that you don't know and you've got no affinity with, and they're a bunch of fucking tournament playing dicks. And it was awful. And I hated it. Said I hated it at the time. Got back on the forum, said I hated it then, and fortunately we never did it again. But like, yeah, it was just so much better when it was just us all players. Just
fuck other people.
We've got the best stuff. We've got the best stuff.
The problem is when there's no gentleman's agreement. You know what I mean? The unspoken agreement of don't just bring the fucking cheese. Don't be that guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, they were that guy. They brought.
When that goes out the window, it's like, well, what's
but
the
when they are that guy, they don't even know what you mean by that.
Like, you're speaking a totally different language, mate. You might as well be speaking gobbledygook to them. What do you mean you're not taking the best units?
So you want me to bring a fun list? That's what they're called it. You want me to bring a fun list, you mean?
Winning's fun. Like, what's wrong with you?
Eddie brought like a gargant, like a proper gargant made from a bin. It looked amazing, right? Painted red as well. And it looked really cool. And we faced off like all of us. We had our rule of no unpainted stuff. And on our table, we had one guy with a fucking Imperial Guard armored company with not a shred of anything other than undercoat on his models, and just a boring person. Didn't really like him. And one guy who tryhard who was going around the tables trying to bolster the ones that weren't doing well, and he put a leg of a Eldar Wraith Titan on a base, which he used as his Phantom because he hadn't built it, and popped the Gargant.
What a bell end.
And I managed to get in combat with my with a power clawed knob with a power claw, and got some hits on it, and would have like immobilized it, and it wouldn't have been able to move, and I would have taken one of the guns out. And he ruled me to say that because he'd moved more than 12 inches, I would have only hit it on 6s, so that he could get out of taking the damage, and I had to re-roll them, and I got no 6s.
So it's a good thing none of us play out there
that day.
We'll have good games. Yeah, it'll be good to meet up.
We certainly will.
When it happens, though, it's, you know, we'll see what fucking happens, to be honest with you. The God bleeding knows at this point, or should I say Gork? Gork knows at this point when it'll happen, but, you know, it will happen.
At this point, Nurgle knows.
Mortarian, knows. We don't.
Papa Nurgle's like,
for those that are tuning
gifts, you
for those
say.
that are tuning in 2021 or 2022, this is
He has blessed us mightily this year.
You ungrateful gifts.
So, until then, what are we going to be discussing on the next episode of the Warbosses of the ApORKalypse?
We are going to talk about conversions, and whether or not you were a proper orc player if you don't convert at all.
Is that a question?
Should be an interesting debate.
Be an interesting one. It certainly could.
Oh, let's not have it now. I can't wait to go on this one. This is one I want to go on. Oh.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have differing opinions on this matter, don't we?
Yeah, we do actually.
So, yeah, I think
right.
we all probably. Yeah,
I'd say I'd roll up my sleeves, but like I'd fucking end up choking myself at this bleeding rate with this thing on.
It's going to take you an hour to get out of that fucking thing. You have to be cut out.
You think yours is tight. Mine leaves nothing to the imagination. You can see what star sign I've got.
Can't see fuck all of mine unless you're wearing shades.
Sagittarius.
I think you can see my
half
six
man,
pack
half
from
horse. Licensed to shit in the street.
Oh, I wish you'd never taken that so literally, though. It's frowned upon.
And after the policeman caught me, so did I.
You tried doing it his hat.
Apparently that's what they're for.
Yeah, but you're not pregnant, so.
Yeah. Do they have to put it on after straight away? That's
I don't know. But, Dim, we're all quiet because you're hosting this and we're waiting for you to segue us to the end.
Bye! No. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode of whatever the fuck this was.
I don't know. It took you so long to say it.
Oh, yeah, well.
Well, at least you got a lot of outtakes to edit in at the end.
Yeah, segue.
Right, Dim, I think ready to go whenever you are, mate. Take it away.
Take it away.
Coffee. Right.
No. Enable HD. Show all of Scarnoosh.
Not that difficult. I always.
You're pushing it with me, mate. I waited like a whole minute without opening my mouth, and that was impressive. But you're pushing it.
Right. Okay. Right. You ready? Everybody ready? Yeah. Obviously, I'm not. Hello and welcome to Warbosses of the ApORKalypse. Right.
Bill. Your shit.
Yes, I am. Hello and welcome to the. Hello and welcome to the Warp. I'm not red, am I? I am probably.
No, you're all right. You're all right.
I've come to spread the word of our Lord and Savior, Battletech. Would you be interested?
5 points! 5 fucking points!
That's standing.
Hello and welcome to. Oh, fuck's sake.
Oh, you fucking had it then.
Hello.
What with hello? Well, you managed the hello. Well done, Dim.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
But he
Yeah,
needs
the hello's perfect.
He needs confidence right now, all right?
Hello and welcome to the. Hello and welcome to the Warbosses of the ApORKalypse. And. Oh.
And the last time Dim ever hosts.
Yeah. Now you can see why I don't
Some of these
fucking do
people
it.
are people I know. Here's
Oh, don't worry. If I can't get it, in 5 minutes, someone else is doing it. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to the Warbosses. Yeah.
Are you still managed to fuck that up as well? What the fuck? Just say goodbye.
Just,
say
no,
goodbye,
just
No.
end it. Cut the video.
Okay, just cut the feed. Cut the feed.
We have ended now. We have ended.
Bye.
This is all outtake shit at this stage. But literally, when you end the video, just end it on you going. Eh. No, just be the end. End it on that, and then end credits roll.
Waddy waddy.
Waddy.
For the outtakes, there you go. Look, you can watch how many times it took him to say it right now.
Goodbye from Scarney.
It was 50.
6+ Stevo signing out.
And it's enough said from Dread.
Ah.